Well, good morning. I'm Víctor Ramírez, and we are going to talk to you about masculinity in Fight Club. The participants are, apart from me, Ana Rodríguez and Ana Hernández. In this presentation, we're going to treat some different topics as what is Fight Club, what are the main characters, what do we understand by masculinity, how is masculinity related to Fight Club, the ethics of masculinity in Fight Club, how is masculinity represented in these characters, a critic or a celebration of men's violence, and nowadays representations of masculinity. Okay, what is Fight Club? We can understand two basic things by Fight Club. First of all, there is a novel which was originally written in 1996, and there is also a film who came in 1999 and directed by David Fincher. Both of them present a world in which men struggle against basically three different things: commodification, capitalism, and the new masculinity. Okay, first of all, I will start talking about who are the main characters. I will start talking about the narrator, who is the main character, and he suffers from insomnia. And he's considered like a social group tourist because he starts going, in order to solve that problem of insomnia, he starts going to social group for people with many problems like testicle cancer or very serious illnesses, just in order to be able to cry and to be relaxed in that kind of sessions, we can say, and be able to sleep at night. And we did like a curious tip. In the film, the narrator is named Jack, while in the novel, he's named Joe. And here we have Edward Norton, who plays the role of Jack in the film. Okay, then we have Tyler Durden, who we said like is the same as the narrator, and it's like an alter ego because he's like another part of the narrator, and he's also the founder of the Fight Club and the leader of Project Mayhem, and he has three jobs. He makes soap in order to use that glycerin. He's also a film projectionist and also a waiter in a luxury hotel. And he kind of represents that repressed masculinity of the real narrator, who is Jack, as we said, and he's like that savage part, we could say. And here we have Brad Pitt, who is the actor who plays the role of Tyler Durden in the film. Another character who is Marla Singer, we wrote here that she fakes her problems. She acts exactly the same way as Jack does. She goes to those social therapy reunions in order to feel better with herself. Like she also goes to that social reunion with men who suffer from testicular cancer and these kind of things, and it's obvious that she has not testicular cancer. And we also said here, like, she argues with Jack, but she's the lover of Tyler. Like, she doesn't really like that Jack because of his way of acting. Like, not, uh, he's not acting like a man, but she really likes the Tyler part because it's his most savage one, and it's what she really likes. And also here we have Helena Bonham Carter playing the role of Marla Singer in the film Fight Club. Then, and to finish with the parts of the main characters, we have Bob Paulson, who we could say that he himself might be the best representation of that struggle of masculinity, because as we can tell by his physical appearance, he took some hormones. At the very first, he took some steroids to become more powerful, but it didn't really go very well. So he had testicular cancer, and then he, due to that testicular cancer, he had to take estrogens, and that made him to grow those boobs, and also his voice became more and more feminine, and he himself represents that ambiguity between the role of that feminine role and that masculine role, and it also helps the main character as a place of comfort, as we can see in the film when he cries on him.
Okay, so now I'm going to continue this presentation by talking about what do we understand by masculinity. Masculinity is that term that makes reference to anything related with main culture and its attributions, such as strength, courage, leadership. Now, how is masculinity related to Fight Club? Fight Club stages a conflict that is reproduced as a battle between competing notions of masculinity and the ways in which masculinity can be seen in a certain number of behaviors. We are able to see the topic of masculinity throughout the novel and the film production by the way the characters share a common characteristic. Their fathers did not play that role. They all feel as less manly men because they were all raised by their mothers, and that awakes a feeling of rage on them. I will continue talking about the ethics of masculinity in the Fight Club. The apparent need to discredit the film in press and in classrooms reveals the power of this film to raise questions about gender, masculinity, and sexuality in discomforting ways, which is represented constantly both during the novel and the film by the allusions to phallic forms and sexual related concepts as frames of pornography, dildos, conversations about dildos, Tyler's gun, and other images. These display the fundamental fantasy of masculine identity in the film. Now we are going to discuss the masculinity that we can find in each main character. For example, the masculinity in the character of Bob Paulson. He represents the link between the masculine and feminine figure. Apart from his physical appearance, which is obviously represented in that way to make us think about gender roles and ambiguity, he is the comfort zone for the narrator, who feels secure when he is around and awakes in him the most feminine side. Then, the masculinity in the character of the narrator. The narrator's feelings for Marla reflect masculinity in a way that critiques the hatred of women in the character's lives. In the culture he lives, a man can only express pain if his life or testicles are in danger. His male status is an illusion, accumulation of possessions but no happiness. And then the traditional male role is lost. No male friends, no sexual partner, no action job. I will begin by talking about the masculinity we are able to see in the character of Tyler Durden. Tyler is considered to be the idealized character of masculinity. He is everything the narrator isn't. Tyler Durden, the film's main hero, states that his father failed him and says that all of the fathers of his generation have failed, declaring that his generation is raised by women. The last thing he needs, he says, is another woman. Tyler is a man who is seeking a father, and when he cannot find one that functions as a father, he becomes it and behaves as one authoritative patriarch. And we see this when he knows the narrator and starts taking care of him. Now we are going to talk about the masculinity in the character of Marla Singer because it also affects her. Marla Singer is the only feminine character that appears in Fight Club. She is considered to be a crazy woman, a mad woman, because of her hysteria and poverty that indicate that she has a poor mental health in the perspective of men. In Fight Club, we see her as a stronger woman even more than the rest of the men of Fight Club because despite of being a woman, she is taller and a more manly character, and this may be caused by her bad life and her self-destructive tendency, because as we know throughout the book and in the film, she desires to be dead. Now, once we finish of reading the book or seeing the film, we ask ourselves if it is criticizing or celebrating men's violence. On one hand, the novel presents us the deconstruction of masculinity and its bad face, and it is done by giving Tyler a nihilistic behavior that would destroy and corrupt anything that comes near him. Also, we have Bob's character, who has a more feminine role, and despite being a man, serves as the only brain being on the novel. He is a masculine man with breasts, and that is why the narrator finds a maternal side in him. We are able to see that he sees Bob as a feminine support when he cries on his chest. On the other hand, everything related with homosexual attraction is for granted rejected, but allegorized during the whole read. In addition, it will be necessary to highlight the mixes we find between the real man and the new man in Fight Club. The new man is the one we contemporarily know. He has been lost by commodification and the media. He is obsessed with consumerism, and that replaced the traditional masculinity we used to see in men, with their strength and honor, that which was common in the real man. The fights between men with their feet and without their t-shirts represent a varying aspect, that of the real men, but their defeats and the diverse problems in their real lives reflect common aspects of the new man, a more weakened and sensitive one. In this case, the Fight Club can be seen as a critique to the lack of male role models. Men raised by women while men working. Instead of criticizing the representation of masculinity, it has been mostly seen as a commodification rebellion of fights against feminization, in which it is also imagined nowadays social realities as serving the necessities of women at the expense of men. Then Fight Club can be seen as both as a critique of men's violence or as a celebration of their violence. It depends on one's view. Found interesting the fact that the Joker shares some similarities with Fight Club. Fight Club is completely based on masculinity as well as Joker, the film directed by Todd Phillips in 2019. That is why we have found similarities between both, as I said. Both films' protagonists are men who suffer from mental illness and turn to violence. They are considered as weak people who are rejected and assigned feminine roles for not having those real men qualities. In addition, they both resort to their fists instead of solving the problems by talking instead of conversation. And of course, both of them are furious testosterone-driven men. And now, in the conclusion, we see that the issue of masculinity is the main concern in Fight Club. We see masculinity reflected in every character and throughout every aspect of the novel and in the cinematographic production as well. The creation of the Fight Club, is what liberates the narrator from the masculinity crisis he is suffering. So, as Pain defines men's masculinity, when he fights, he empowers himself and finds the masculinity that once was lost.